Today on the Holochronicles podcast, we're going to try something a little different. People in our circles, what I'm finding out over the last few years is that are really passionate about music, which is not surprising because a lot of people are, and not always about the same kind of bands. So today, we're going to pull up a few friends, some familiar faces, I hope, and discuss an artist and a band that have very little to do with each other than they've cranked out hits in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And Hall of Famers, no joke. And of course, we're talking about Elton John, Sir Elton John, and Australia's own AC/DC. So without any further ado, Holochronicles and Friends presents a music feature. And who are these friends that I've just referred to? Well, one of them's in the chat. I thought he'd join us today, but I guess not. Well, first off, she's 2 for 2 this week on podcast. She's not just a pretty face. She knows more about music than I do, and I feel like I got a pretty good handle on a lot of music. None other than Miss Emily. Hello, Miss Emily.
Hi. Am I becoming a series regular?
Well, you've been on twice, so that's more than the next guy who's done his fair share of dirty deeds, done dirt cheap. Connor Bowler, welcome.
Hello, I'm well. How are we doing?
Good. Connor, is this your first time on this show, or have you been on before? I forget.
No, this is my first time on Holochronicles, and Emily is already doing me dirty and better than me with two shows.
And then finally, our fourth guest today is a regular in the Holochronicles atmosphere. Babe Station's own Rocket Man, ladies and gentlemen, Simon Richardson.
Thank you. Pleased to be
All
here.
right. Ladies and gentlemen, and those in the chats, good to see you guys. Hopefully you were just enjoying Stu's stream. I think that's still probably going on, though. What I wanted to do today is just discuss Elton John and AC/DC. We'll go AC/DC first. And I'll give you just a brief little synopsis, who they are, some of the albums and hits that they've had. And then we're just going to have a short little discussion where we get to talk about maybe our favorite song of theirs, a song that we feel that is underrated and that should be appreciated more, and maybe a song that, this is probably a little overhyped, maybe a little overrated as well. I know music can really have some strong nostalgic feelings associated with them. I've got a couple of things that I could share. I'm sure you guys do too. But I don't know. I thought this might be a little fun, and let's get into AC/DC. I took notes, even guys. This is how serious I am here. AC/DC first broke onto the Australian scene in 1974, and then internationally in 1975, with their first big hit being "It's a Long Way to the Top If You're Gonna Rock and Roll." They were regulars on the Australia charts, but didn't break into the US charts until the following year with Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. Also from that album, TNT. And then they started cranking them out, hitting their stride in 1979 through 1982. That was their big run where they cranked out Highway to Hell, Shook Me All Night Long, Hell's Bells, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, Back in Black, Let's Get It Up, and For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. They then had hits into the 90s and even in the early 2000s with their last big hit, in 2000, Stiff Upper Lip. Personally, I can say that AC/DC was on in the weight room when I was in high school every time I was in there. It was just regular pump up music. You hear them at games, all across. I mean, probably at soccer matches. True or false, guys?
Yeah.
And they are known for their guitar intros and their straight up rock and roll. Probably one of the most unique sounding lead vocals that you'll hear, spanning two vocalists too. Surprisingly, there's two people that can sing like that. And Emily, what do you think of when you hear AC/DC playing?
A couple things here that came to mind as I was thinking about this. My brother does a great Brian Johnson impression. So that's what I think of first. Thunderstruck era. Loved it. I'm with you. I think it's definitely the pump up music for sports, any sport. It's always present. So yeah, I think it's giving you that the motivation, you know. So
Cy, what about you? What's your experience with AC/DC?
Not much, to be fair with you. Growing up mostly with a hip hop and drum and bass background, that sort of music was really outside for me. To get close to it for AC/DC, what I can say more than that is I never knew they were Australian for a start. I always thought they were all American. And two, if they started in 74 and then was international by 75, that shows how in the beginning this band was going to be something else. I think the image of the lead guitar player in the schoolboy outfit and everything, I think it's always been an image that's stuck with you. And even to this day, they do the same sort of thing, don't they? And same outfits. And
yeah, it's iconic.
So, but I agree with you when it comes to riling up the crowd, shall we say, there's nothing better than an AC/DC track, is there? You know, very close to Metallica. And I suppose that's why Beavis and Butthead had them both on each other's t-shirts. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
They were the bands, weren't they? Yeah.
Can we stay with Beavis and Butthead for 1 second? I feel like the intro to Beavis and Butthead, the first guitar note is Hell's Bells. Can anybody fact check that for me?
It's
Do you know what
not.
I'm talking about? It feels like the same first step, the very first note.
They're similar, but I don't believe them to be the same song.
It's not the same song, but I think the very first note it always reminds me of Hell's Bells.
Right, and that's probably intentional. Now in our group chats, Simon's always the one posting DJ clips, hip hop jams, club music, and so definite music roots in the hip hop, like you said, for sure. Connor, our Irish brother, what's your experience with AC/DC?
I grew up in a house that was heavily dominated by Beatles music. John Lennon. That was my mama absolutely idolized the Beatles, and that kind of soft rock was my dad's kind of gig. That's what his jam was. So really, I didn't have much exposure to the early AC/DC, but I remember we had a huge store here in Dublin, the Virgin Megastore, and that was the go-to place for music. This store had three floors of music and videos, and this is before DVDs and the likes started to come out. It was a huge store, and I remember going in and seeing the live album in 1992, and not knowing anything about it, and being really interested by the image of the guy jumping with the guitar in a school uniform on the cover. But then MTV started playing Highway to Hell, and I just adored that track. So that was my first real introduction to finding out about AC/DC. Eventually got the pocket money together to buy that cassette, and like everything else back in the day, once you got a cassette, it went into the Walkman and you played it until it nearly wore itself out. And yeah, that was my introduction to AC/DC. It was during that whole rock scene that was going on in the early '90s, kind of before the Seattle kind of grunge stuff had hit. So it was AC/DC, although an older band, were kind of like a breath of fresh air because we had all the LA kind of hair metal going on at the time. The Metallica were starting to break through, the kind of heavy metal kind of stuff, or the thrash metal was coming through, and to get this kind of all sounding just all rock band was awesome, and especially then of course with the vocals and the AC/DC sound. It was kind of, like I said, strangely it was a refreshing breath of fresh air when I got to hear it in '92.
Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. So let's hit it right off the bat here. Favorite AC/DC song, M? What you got?
This is getting a lot of play lately with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, but I'm gonna go Thunderstruck.
Classic.
I love it. Can't get enough.
That is one of their biggest hits. I think it actually is their biggest hit, at least from a dollars and cents point of view. That came out in 1990, hit number 5 in the U.S. charts, yeah, it's my buddy Brad's favorite song.
Yeah.
So good.
The guitar intro, iconic.
Yeah. I suppose that would be my favourite because, like I said, not knowing this band intimately, there's certain tunes that you do know, and there's certain songs that you do relate to, and that is definitely one of them. Do you know? I just think it's one of them songs that just gets the party going, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them.
For sure, yeah.
Connor, how about you?
I'm going to have to, for me, my favorite song is Back in Black, and it's an amazing track, but like all the best kind of songs that when you learn about the backstory, that was when Brian Johnson took the reins from Bon Scott. That was sort of their tribute song coming out as a new band for him with Bon Scott's family's sort of permission to go ahead and carry on as a band. And when you learn about all that kind of history behind that track, and then when you hear it and the kind of the aggression and the venom and the pump in the song, it just Back in Black is a go-to to me. And like you were saying there, if I was ever doing the weights in the gym, AC/DC would be on the playlist, and Back in Black is for sure one of them.
Oh, definitely. For me, my favorite of theirs is Shoot to Thrill. And that, I mean, it's probably on that second tier of hits that they have, but man, that song gets me going. Like I love the guitar and drum intro part together, and then it just picks up, and it was never more so than Iron Man 2, when the whole AC/DC is credited for doing the Iron Man 2 soundtrack, because it is mostly, if not all, AC/DC songs. And I don't know if you remember, they're doing.
Yeah, look at all the F1 scene in that with all the AC/DC. That was brilliant.
Yeah, and Shoot to Thrill was right at the beginning when he's doing the expo, and he comes flying in, and girls are high stepping, and it's always been my favorite of theirs. But it definitely, like I said, it gets the goosebumps going for me. Fun fact about AC/DC: they have refused to do a greatest hits album, because it's just not, even though they've recycled some songs, they've had some live albums, and essentially the Iron Man 2 soundtrack is a greatest hits of sorts. They have refused to, up to this point, to put out a greatest hits album. And I thought that was unusual, because they have definitely an album's worth of greatest hits that they could do. And that would be an easy money grab too, you'd think.
But if I was in a band and I was in a band like AC/DC and it was popular worldwide and we've been going decades, and then all of a sudden the producers started to give it to me, oh, how you thinking of a greatest hits album? I'd be thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not for the retirement yet. Do you know what I mean? I think to bands, the greatest hits album rings a ring of like, you're on your way out in the sense of, and I don't think they were that sort of band, are they, to be on the way out? So I do get it why they turn that down.
No, but you're even what Andy's saying there, like they were the sound of Iron Man 2, which was out in the 2000s. This is 30, 40 years after they formed as a band, and they're still going, and they're representing the whole movie franchise. On the soundtrack, it's just an amazing feat, and especially since when you think back to the negative press that they got in the 80s, when they were being, they had to go. Were they in court, or there was a court case where someone was saying that their music was satanic, and they had to fight back against that kind of Christian kind of wing and overcome that. Like that could have destroyed their sort of American audience at the time, but they were able to overcome that and like even get as far as representing a Hollywood movie for a soundtrack. Is just goes to show the power of the music that they have.
Connor, do you think that Australians feel about AC/DC like what Irishmen feel about U2?
Oh, tough question. No, I think, and Mike's in the chat, so he'll have to verify this. I think Australians are really proud of AC/DC, and quietly, us Irish guys are proud of U2. It's just an Irish thing. We love the bands that are trying to be U2 or nearly U2, but as soon as you make it in Ireland, it's just like, who's he think he is? Who's that? Charlie Big Potatoes.
Yeah, he was just performing down at the pub last year.
Yeah. And
again, I suppose it does play a lot on where you were brought up. I mean, I'm the Northwest, and some of the bands that come from the Northwest of England, it's quite hard to like jump outside of that when you look how great these bands are, from the Smiths to the Beatles. So I think sometimes that American sort of sound, that rock sound, never really hit me in a sense. Hip hop did, because my dad was a musician and he played country and music in a band called Reno. So like I tried to get as far away as a teen as I could, you know what I mean? So I think that's what it was.
So moving on to next song, and chat, please feel free to include your entries when we talk about favorite. And now the next one, maybe underrated song, a song that you really, really enjoy, that you think others should know about. This could be a deep cut. It could just be, I don't know, whatever definition of underrated that you feel. I'll go ahead and start this one. It's hard to imagine their only number one hit. Do you guys know what their only number one hit song was? They've had plenty in the top 100, top 50, even top 10, but they've only had one number one. Do you guys know what it is?
Highway to Hell?
It's not. Em?
Shook Me All Night Long?
It's not. Connor?
I'm going to go with Back in Black.
It's not.
Wow.
Those
Okay.
were number ones. Their only credited number one hit song came in 1993. And this is why I think it's underrated, because you'd think it would be the best known, most played. It's not. All of those that you guys just said get more radio play, get more play at parties and wedding receptions. But this song, their only number one, came from a soundtrack. It was a hit off of a soundtrack to The Last Action Hero, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's Big Guns. I love that song. It needs to be, in my opinion, mentioned in the same breath as Shook Me All Night Long, as Back in Black, as Thunderstruck, Hell's Bells. But I wouldn't be shocked, Cy, if you're not sure what that song is.
No, and that's I said, I couldn't really give you a compliment on any underrated song for AC/DC because as a fan, I wouldn't know. All I know is what I hear, and what I hear is what I like. So for that, I'll take your word for that, and I'll listen out for it.
All right. Well, do yourself a favor and go look it up. Em, what's your underrated song?
You know, I'm kind of with Simon. I mean, I don't know that I really have an underrated. You know, I'm
You think they're all
kind of on the.
oriented?
I don't know a lot of AC/DC deep cuts. I know that for those about to rock, that's one that I think doesn't get as much play as the others. So I'd put that one up there.
That's a great one for sure. Connor, how about you?
Again, I don't think it's an underrated song, but the one I'm going to pick because it doesn't sort of get mentioned as much as the stadium anthems. But again, a great song with a great story. Lyrically, it's brilliant, and anyone coming of age is going to appreciate a whole lot of Rosie and what it can offer to that teenage soul you have as a boy. It's out there. It's wacky and. Yeah, I
He's
just like
telling
I
us
said.
an old story here, isn't he? He's telling us an old story, isn't he? So that song was playing, Connor, and
and I suppose, and funny enough, if we're talking about underrated songs and the story of a whole lot of roads, the only one I can kind of compare it to is Garth Brooks that summer, which again, it's a brilliant story. You don't have to be a Garth Brooks fan to listen to that and appreciate the sort of the coming of age, story within the lyrics. So I'm going to say a whole lot of Rosie doesn't get the same love as the big anthems, the stadium anthems.
All right.
But again, all the songs that you're mentioning, the saying that I can't say any history of AC/DC, but I know these songs. You're saying them, they're playing in my head. So it just goes to show the power of that band, really, doesn't it? That even outsiders, they know who they are and they know that logo. And one of the big bands, aren't they? Big bands.
You mean this logo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely like I did a quick search for it in my house. I know I've got it somewhere around here. I couldn't find it, but yeah, that's the one album that I own of theirs. You could have picked a few and they'd all be good, but that's the one. That's their biggest album commercially, and yeah, that's the one. And it's funny, I saw the comment in the chat. I think it's from Adam, that when he thinks of AC/DC, he thinks of American stadium rock, but they're not American, which is, I think, is funny. But I think it's right though, because we do play it loudly at stadium events. It's going to get you going. All right, last little bit here. Well, maybe about AC/DC. Overhyped, overrated. It'd probably be maybe just it was such a big hit. Maybe it got played so much that you're not tired of it. Is there a song like that for you, Cy?
No, because like I said, I think when you've got them bands that get the party started, you don't really, you don't get that sort of overrated, played, or because the music's good and it fires you up. Do you know what I mean? So, so we're at the age now where I've been listening to bands, I'd say properly since the age of 15, 16, like you do. It's like well over 30 years now. So bands like that, I think there's nothing really overrated. You're a fan, you're not, but you can't say they don't make brilliant music.
I hear you, Cy. It's hard to say an overrated for a band like AC/DC or, Elton John, especially, as we'll talk about. But I got to say, I do have one. And I hope I don't make anybody mad in the chat. Money Talks. I could go the rest of my life without hearing that song and I'd be totally fine. I like it.
Yeah, funny. I agree with you, Emily. That's a good show because, it doesn't have the same impact or sort of sound as their other stuff. So yeah,
I can't put my finger on it, but I never.
You get a pass from me for that one, Emily.
Yeah. What would you say, Connor? Is it the same one or different?
No, so an incredible band, an incredible sort of backlog of songs, and I was looking. I was trying to just be critical of something of one song for this question. So I was thinking, and probably again a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say Thunderstruck, purely from perspective of it's kind of just overused in cinema and stuff, and social media, and it's kind of the go-to song for a lot of video clips and stuff. And there's just so many other great AC/DC tracks they could use. So for that reason, just that it's a little bit overused, I'm going to say Thunderstruck.
Okay. All right. For me, it's I wanted to say Big Balls, but I think that was made specifically for like a middle school audience. That's when I heard it and fell in love with it. But TNT for me, that it's like okay.
Yeah, but TNT, that's pure. That's real Bon Scott, though, isn't it? Like
It is.
You can hear the power of his voice, and
I'm dynamite.
isn't it great? They're an Australian band, right? And Bon Scott was such a powerful singer. It was terrible what happened to him. But then they go and find Brian Johnson, a Geordie, to come in and replace him. It was such an odd pairing that this Australian rock band found this Newcastle lad that became the front
We
man of
had
the band.
that on during the band test, no
Yeah.
problem. You imagine it, yeah.
But he took the mantle and he ran with it, and he was the front man of the band, and all the way through the 80s and 90s. It was a huge ask for a guy to take on, and he did it. And he retired. He had his problem with his ears. He's had some surgery, and he's back now touring with them again years later after other singers had filled the role. So I think an incredible front man.
Yeah.
Now, when going back to like the nostalgic part for me with AC/DC, small town, just a small town boy, and at every school dance, "Shook Me All Night Long" was played, and even still, like I'm fortunate that I get to go play music at one dance every year too, and I play it at every school dance that I've ever done, every school dance I ever went to when I was in high school. And it's a song that everybody knows what to do when that song happens. Whether you're old or young, whether you've heard it before, whether you haven't heard it before, "Shook Me All Night Long." Everybody just knows what to do in that song. They get out on the dance floor and they just start rocking and rolling. And it's great. That song is burned into my youth for that reason. I just think of school dances when I hear that song, and it doesn't matter how many times I've heard it. I can't wait to hear it again because I know everyone's going to have a good time when it's on.
Yeah, that's burned into my middle school dance memories too. I heard an interview with Brian Johnson recently. He said he was talking about writing that song. He's so big into cars. So of course, like, comparing a woman to a car when you're really into it. So it was a cute interview, but that I'm with you, Andy. There's never been a school dance that was attended that wasn't the peak of.
So any other coming of age moments that were set to an AC/DC song, Connor? Like any other memories or nostalgic moments?
I'm going to go into too much detail on. But no, again. So you were talking about the school disco there. So yeah, the same kind of thing. So I'm sure it was the same for Si. When we were growing up, it was kind of more dance music in the school.
I was going to say, it wasn't AC/DC. These went to cool school. We were Rick Astley and Kylie Minogue.
We had entrance on a ragged trip to Prodigy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So there was always this little, near the end of the disco, they do a little rock section, and they play the rock songs. But funny enough, I don't remember AC/DC. And one of the go-to ones was always Black Betty, the Ace of Spades, or who? Ram Jam, Black Betty.
Yeah, Ram Jam.
And like that, as soon as that came on, everyone would have been dancing and having a good time, and they'd play that song, and everyone would just run at each other and start jumping up on top of each other and creating a mosh pit. So we didn't have AC/DC, but we'd Ram Jam for those pieces of our discos.
Yeah, they're adjacent. They're adjacent. That's true. All right, let's see. A couple more fun facts about AC/DC, and then we'll switch it on over to Elton John here. Brian Johnson wrote the lyrics to "Shook Me All Night Long" while in the bathroom.
I wonder what he was doing.
He was shaking one loose, I think.
See what you can do when you don't have TikTok.
You write hit song lyrics. Yeah, imagine that. Bon Scott gargled red wine and honey every morning to keep his raspy voice. Something to think about there. Emily, if you ever want to do a Janis Joplin tribute.
Just get some red wine and honey.
Angus Young, lead guitarist for AC/DC, famously plays what kind of guitar? Do you guys know off the top of your head?
No idea.
The Gibson SG, which, in his schoolboy outfit, does his little Chuck Berry impression. But he only played the SG because it was the only neck that he could get his fingers around comfortably. I did not know that. I thought that was interesting. But you can't.
Now, what did he get that then from Chuck Berry? Was that moved from Chuck Berry, or was it?
Yeah. Yep. That was a where he's playing the guitar and kicking one foot out. That's a very Chuck Berry thing to do there.
Also a Back to the Future move.
Who? Yes.
Yeah.
Who didn't they call Chuck? It's your cousin.
Yeah. So officially a Marty McFly move. Officially.
Yeah, that's it. And, I already said that they were credited for the Iron Man 2 soundtrack. But that is the closest you're going to get to a greatest hits album. It sounds like. They were one of the last. They were a long time holdout for Apple iTunes music too. They wouldn't put singles out. They would do whole albums, but if you wanted to buy Shook Me All Night Long, you had to buy the whole album. They didn't do songs because they thought that to get a good handle on any particular song, you needed to hear the songs around it for a full appreciation. And so, for a long time, and maybe still, I haven't looked, but you could only get albums off of iTunes as a result, not individuals, which I thought was interesting. That's not what every band does. So.
Total dad moment here coming up, but I only had this conversation with my daughters in the car a few days ago, where they were, we get in, the two of them are trying to connect their phones to the car at the same time, and no, play this song, no, play that song, and they're trying to pick the songs. I said, what are you doing? You need to pick a record and listen to it all the way through. You need to follow the story that's being told. The two of them are looking at me like I'd gone insane, What do you mean listen to the whole, the whole album? I was like, no, you need to listen to the whole album. It's a journey from start to finish, and the band are trying to tell you a story. No interest.
I can appreciate that.
They went back to arguing over the who's playing the next song on the Bluetooth.
So you don't think you'll be taking them to like a Laser Light Pink Floyd show anytime soon or anything like that?
Funny enough, there's a tribute band around here called Breathe, the Pink Floyd Experience, and they are amazing. They're just hugely talented musicians. And I got a notification there on my phone the other night to say they were playing up in Drogheda in December. And I turned around to my wife and said, hey, do you want to go? We stay the night in Drogheda. We go and see them. And she said to me, listen, we've seen them 3 times. You need to think it's something more romantic than that. So I won't be seeing the Pink Floyd experience this Christmas.
Well, that's too bad. Man. That's too bad. You guys ready to change gears here and talk a little Sir Elton?
Well,
Yeah,
I
I'm
did
sick
check.
of winging it.
AC/DC,
Oh,
AC/DC is on Apple Music now. You can get individual songs. I think Taylor Swift was on that train as well for years, and Garth Brooks is our last holdout. I think he's the only one that's.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin was like that for a long time too.
Everybody needs to go and listen to That Summer by Garth Brooks. Hugely important song.
That summer.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if it'll take you serious or not, Connor.
No, dude, it's a great song.
Okay.
Lyrically, it's beautiful.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. I don't think Tupac is on iTunes. Can you check that? Him? Speaking of holdouts. All right. Does anybody know what Sir Elton John's birth name is?
Yes,
Simon.
it's called Reginald.
Reginald.
Really?
Do you
I
know
can't remember his second name.
his second name?
Yeah, it's not called Elton John. It's called Reginald. I can't remember.
Reginald
Dwight.
Dwight. Yeah. When he changed his name to Elton John, did you know he changed his middle name too?
No.
No.
It's now his full title is Sir Elton Hercules John.
Hercules.
Hercules, yep.
Simpson.
No. If you're going to pick a name, pick a good one.
Yeah, I mean, why would he put Hercules as his middle name?
Because he can.
Hmm.
He's part Greek.
Maybe, that's a good part Greek. Sir Elton John started his music career professionally 1969, and in 1970 had his first of 29 top 10 hits, spanning from 1970 all the way to his most recent top 10 hit was in 2021. But his first one in 1970 was Your Song. And there was a number of years in the 70s where he was putting 2 albums out a year, which is nuts because most bands or solo performers did one. And that was even to do one a year for 6 years in a row would be a big ask. But he was cranking out 2 albums a year for most of the 70s. And I want to tell you, here's from 1970 to 1976. These are all number 1 hits that he came out with, and probably his biggest hit-making time in his career. Although the 80s were pretty good to him too. But beginning with Your Song, Tiny Dancer, Rocket Man, Honky Cat, Crocodile Rock, Daniel, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Step Into Christmas, Benny and the Jets, Candle in the Wind, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, The Bitch Is Back, Philadelphia Freedom, and Don't Go Breaking My Heart. That was all in 6 years that he cranked out all of those top 10 hits.
Crazy talent. Crazy talent.
Unreal. There was a bit of a lull from 76 to 83 as far as his standards go. But in 1983, he comes out with, I guess that's why they call it the blues, I'm Still Standing, which is when that was my introduction to Elton John, I'm Still Standing. That's What Friends Are For in 1985. Do you know who he sang that song with?
What was her name?
There were actually 3 other people that he sang with.
Was it Barbara Streisand?
It was not.
good time. It was a bad time. I'm just trying to play it. I can't get the voice.
It was Kiki D did the "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," wasn't it?
That was Kiki D.
Yeah.
He did
Any
a
other
few
people?
songs with her.
He
But
done George
Dionne
Michael done
Warwick.
it the Sun that comes.
Dionne
Yes, it
Warwick
was John Warwick.
was one of them. Yep. Dionne Warwick, Gladys Knight, and Stevie Wonder.
Oh.
That's right. Stevie Wonder is the voice that I
Yeah.
remember.
Love that song, by the way. 1988, I Don't Want to Go On With You Like That. Might be my underrated song.
So good.
1989, Sacrifice. That's when I really started listening to music, and that's when I started paying attention to Elton John. Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me with George Michael. The One in 1992. Then in 1994, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Circle of Life. Candle in the Wind got another boost when he rewrote some of the lyrics in 1997 for the memorial of Princess Diana. And that is currently his all-time greatest hit as far as money is concerned. And then he's had many other songs, but his last top 10 hit was in 2021 with Britney Spears called Hold Me Closer. So 1970 to 2021, 29 top 10 hits. He's sold over 300 million albums. It was nuts.
Crazy. Yeah. Like a powerhouse of talent. Like when you think about, as you said, go back to the early days where he was cranking out 2 records a year. It's just bonkers to keep up that standard and still get top 10 hits with them is just bonkers.
Yeah, the quality was always there, which is unusual. But Emily, what is your favorite? If you could say one, what's your favorite Elton John hit?
That's tough. That's really tough because I mean the decades. I love 80s music. I appreciate the early 90s. Can I give you a top 5?
Yeah, you can, as long as
Okay.
there's number one in that top 5.
Okay. I think that one of the greatest love songs of all time is The One. I love that song. I heard it this summer.
Baby, you're the one.
So good.
So good.
Love that. I love okay, we'll go 3. I'll keep it simple, guys.
Okay.
I love the mashups. I love the Britney Spears mashup, but my number 1, I think, is the Dua Lipa mashup that
Yeah,
he did
cool
a couple
track.
years ago. I play that all the time. That's the Elton John song that gets the most play for me, whether it's my favorite or not. I know it's not a classic, but I love that song. I think it's so good.
It's a classic in this house. Played it all the time. Love that. Me and Claire, I think that's a great tune.
Si, what's your favorite? Or
My
maybe
favorite Elton John song, even though it's really peculiar, is Nikita. That's my favorite.
okay.
Yeah, cool.
Back
What
when
a
I was
video.
18, I had a top night this one night. Now, remember, I come from a background where I did not like Elton John. Like, Elton John to me growing up was like, oh my God, who's this old woman? He was just not for me. Do you know what I mean? But this one night when I was 18, I was at college. I went to the Groves in the Casino in Blackpool. And it was just a brilliant night. And the Groves in the Casino was quite an old place. And I remember, I can't remember what it was, but I was waiting for somebody. I'm in this hallway. This hallway was done in like a really dark velvet purple, just a beautiful building. And it felt like it was in some Art Deco 1920s building. And they were playing Nikita. And I found myself like singing it all the way through. And then ever since that night, because it was such a good night, I've always loved that record. Love Nikita.
Yeah, Keith's with you on that one side.
Yeah, I love it.
That's one I need to listen to again because it's not. Can you sing a few bars for me? It's not.
Well, Nikita, you will never know. You know it, Andy.
Beautiful, Simon. Beautiful.
So you're getting them expensive.
Connor, what's your top
So, like Stoy, Elton John wouldn't have been on my radar much growing up. You know all the songs, you'd hear them on Top of the Pops every week, but he wouldn't be the cassette in the Walkman going to school. But I'm going to fast forward to the year, I think it was 2001, maybe 2002, and I'd moved out of home at that stage, and I had my own place with my now wife, and I decided I was going to get Sky Sports in for the football because I was sick of, my dad was never going to pay for when we were in the house. I had my own place now, a bit of money, and I wanted to get the live football in. And the ad the ad that was going on, the ad campaign for Sky Sports at the time was Elton John, "Are you ready for love?" I don't know. Do you remember that side?
Are you ready? Yeah.
Are you ready for love? And I remember going around singing that for weeks, because waiting for the Sky Man to come in and put in the box, and I was doing the jig, and I was driving the missus crazy, singing it all the time. And every time there's going to, Saturday waiting for the football to start, are you ready for love? So that would be that. For that reason, that would be my favorite.
All right, that's good. It's even got a story attached. I love that. Favorite for me. And this might be a little on the nose, but it's Tiny Dancer.
Good choice.
It's his second big hit, and it's been around forever. And have you guys seen the movie Almost Famous?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, was your pick influenced by the single or the moment in that? Because that's such a cool moment in that film.
It is such a cool moment in that movie, and it would Tiny Dancer would have been my pick anyway. But what I loved about that scene, Connor, was that I was right there with them. Like, they start singing Tiny Dancer on the bus, and it like you said, it was just such a cool moment that I could relate to. It was like, everybody's singing it, and again, I've played music at a lot of different events and birthday parties and weddings, and that song just has it's another song that when you hear it, everybody just kind of knows what to do. It's like, get your arm around your buddy and then you just start singing the song, or grab your gal and go dance with her, and everybody sings at the top of their lungs, "Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dancer," and it's a song that I have never gotten tired of, and I thought that scene in Almost Famous like perfectly encapsulated what that song is to people, and and for that reason, it's my favorite. So,
awesome choice.
It's such a sweet song. I think that Tiny Dancer probably has maybe the most misheard lyrics. We've got "Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza." We've got hold me close. I'm tired of dancing. Classic misheard lyrics too.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can tell a quality of a good song is by who tries to do it again. And like Adam says, or David Grohl has a good version of it. Who's the country singer that did Tiny Dancer? Was it Blake? It wasn't Blake Shelton. Might have been Tim McGraw. But anyway, it's worth covering. Like, it's a song that seems like if you get it halfway decent, it'll be one of the best songs on your album, kind of thing. So
that's the mix-up, the mashup with Britney Spears was Tiny Dancer and one other song. I'm looking for you to see who covered that. Ben Folds. I don't see a country artist. We have a Florence and the Machine. Oh, Tim McGraw. There it is. Yeah.
Florence and the Machine do it. That'd probably be pretty good. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, okay. Fun fact about Sir Elton John. He doesn't write most of his music. He writes the music, but not the lyrics. Do you know who writes most of the lyrics, or that has worked with him?
Thingy, what's he called? Bernie something.
Bernie is correct.
Can't remember. But they've been
That's
writing
right,
partners for years, haven't they?
Years and years and years and years and years, almost from the beginning. Bernie
Yeah.
Taupin.
Yeah, you've got to give him as much credit, really, I think, for Elton John, because, again, both of them are Lennon and McCartney, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually. So yeah.
Okay, what's an underrated song that you don't feel like gets enough credit from Sir Elton? Connor, let's start with you this time.
I gotta go back to my youth, and I remember going back to school discos, and I don't know if you guys had them in the States, but you know, you'd be dancing away, and next minute the lights would go dark, and the DJ would do what we call the slow set. And
Oh,
I remember I was only starting to go to discos, and the big hit that summer was Sacrifice, and you know, the boys would go over and ask the girls to dance, and I remember just being, oh, this is crazy. So I just remember that song so instinctively from that summer, that it was such a hit, and it doesn't just you don't hear about it much now. You never hear about that song when people talk about Elton John and his back catalogue and all the famous hits. It doesn't get mentioned, but it's always one that springs to mind for me is that song Sacrifice.
Yeah, that's a great song, man. 1989, Sacrifice. Emily, how about you? What's an underrated Elton John song for you?
I'm with Connor. That was mine. I love that song. It's beautiful, and I know it's a hit, but I think it's not up there as high as it needs to be. I love it too. I don't have any memories attached to it, or I just think it's a beautiful song. I love it.
Yeah. How about you, Si?
For me, it's I Want Love, because it came out at a time when Elton John people were basically saying he's had his day and he's doing these hits with Blue and all this and that. And then he comes out with that. And I found myself really defending Elton John at the time, thinking this guy's still got it. Do you know what I mean? And it's a song you don't really hear regularly now, even. It's like when you hear Elton John, it's either the Dua Lipa song, or it goes back to his early catalogue. And I just think that I Want Love is severely underrated. And the video, I loved that video with Robert Downey Jr. and the whole thing's done in one take. It was just brilliant.
Cool video on that one.
TJC is with you there, Si.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that song.
So I kind of have two underrateds, and it's my show, so I can. So the first one is The Bitch Is Back. Now, for a long time, they wouldn't play that on U.S. radio because it said bitch in it. And but I always thought it was so much fun. Like, it was just a fun song, and as it turns out, it was about Elton John. At the time, it was just before it was written. His co-writer, Bernie Taupin's wife, called Elton, he's such a bitch. He's kind of a drama queen, he's got to be the big hit in the room. He sucks all the oxygen out, and so that song was written about Elton John, which to me makes it even better because it's self-aware and he's not denying it at all, that he's a diva. And it's just a fun song. It's upbeat and it's fun, and I know because of the lyrics, it probably doesn't get the same kind of play as other songs. But I also think "Step Into Christmas" is one of my favorite Christmas songs.
Good choice.
I don't know where it ranks for you guys as far as holiday tunes, but it's pretty high up there for me. And I think if you're putting together a Christmas playlist, it's got to be on there. It's got to be on there.
Yeah.
Those would be my two. And I don't even know if they're that underrated, really, but it just feels like they need to be elevated a little bit more in my eyes, because my eyes.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's
some
funny
just
because
don't get played like they should, do they? Some don't get played like they should. I know what you're saying. You've got these great artists with a great back catalogue. And I think because of that, some are just shadowed. Do you know what I mean? Where they should be a bit more. Listen to this, So.
Yeah, but Step Into Christmas is you know it's Christmas time. You're starting to wrap presents. You're getting ready. You stick on the music channels on the TV where they're doing 24 hours of music videos and or Christmas songs. But I never hear Step Into Christmas on it. So that's as soon as you said that, I thought that was a really good choice, Andy.
Yeah, Keith's saying I'm Still Standing. That's his underrated song because of the time in his life that Elton John wrote it in, and it's tough to deny that for sure. What do you guys feel about Taron Egerton's version of "I'm Still Standing" from the movie Sing? Because I thought that was outstanding too. It's a good song.
I do, but I believe that big classics are like big movies. They're not really for doing again. And if they do, it's great for a novelty in my sense, but it'll never be the classic, never be the original.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think he does a good version of it. I don't think it's better, but I think it's a good version. So it's like I don't think Tim McGraw's version of Tiny Dancer is better, but it's still a good song,
It's different.
because it's a good song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now
Could I give an honorable mention to Something About the Way You Look Tonight?
you can.
Thank you.
That hasn't been
Oh,
mentioned.
sorry, the song.
That song is so good. Okay, I had to say it. Had to be in there somewhere. So
What your reason?
it's beautiful. It's the lyrics for me. Something About the Way You Look Tonight takes my breath away. Like speaks to me.
Yeah. Well, I know you like the Tony Bennett song too. The Way You Look Tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a theme there, Em.
Maybe so. Maybe there's a pattern.
Okay. Now with somebody that has a catalog as large as Elton John's, and for as much time as he gets on radio, there's probably a song that you're like, I'm a little tired of. Maybe you've heard one too many times. Maybe it was just a little too popular on the radio stations when you were, growing up or whatever. But is there an overrated song that's like, man, this song drives me nuts, or I'm just tired of it? Sai, is there a song like that for you?
I am, and I don't mean to upset Connor's feelings because I know he used to like touching all the girls up at school to the discos and to this song. But Sacrifice, I absolutely hate that song with a passion. It's just one of them ones that it's just, I hear it, it's just awful, innit? It's just, sorry, Connor. We have a different view on the school disco days.
Fine. That's why me and you never had a dance together, so
Yeah, that one. And I'm not really a big fan of that Lion King one either. I'm sorry. I
Which
know
one?
it's popular.
Circle
Can you
of
feel
Life?
the love tonight?
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
I think I'm with you, Sai, on Can You Feel the Love Tonight? But for me, and this is apologies to people listening, Crocodile Rock. That for me, I've heard it enough.
Yeah.
It can be retired. It's just it fingernails on the chalkboard to me. I skip it when I hear it. So
I spent a summer in Saranac Lake, New York when I was in high school. And I was in a laundry room. I did laundry for a whole month, and there were two other gals with me. The only thing we had was a radio, an FM radio at that, no CDs, no tapes, nothing. And it was a local radio station in Saranac Lake that played 5 songs. Crocodile Rock was one. I am with you, Andy. I heard that song so much that summer that is one that I could never hear again, and I'd be totally fine with it. With respect to Crocodile Rock, at the same time, I realize it's still a great song for most people, but for me, it can be tired.
I get where you're coming from. I don't know if you remember the summer of 1994, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
yes.
and I was working in. We had a heat wave in Ireland that year, so everyone was going around with a beautiful glowing brown color, and looked so healthy and happy with life. I spent the summer working in a freezer in a production bakery, but they were playing the local radio station, and on the air every hour that song came on. So I was doing 10-hour shifts. I heard that song 10 times plus a day. So I hate that song. So I get exactly where you're coming from, Emily. Working and hearing the same song over and over again.
It's true, that song. I'm just listening to that in my head. It's irritating me.
If I hear it now, I turn to violence.
But songs like Crocodile Rock, well, that's another one, isn't it? Just the beginning. Oh my God, kill me now, aren't you? It's like, I get it.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Connor, what was your Elton John overrated song or song that?
I'm going to upset everybody with this. I was hoping you were going to forget to ask me. It's "Candle in the Wind," and hear me out. Not for the reason. So I remember one time. So back in the day, we used to record the songs off the radio, and I had the mixtape. I don't know where it was gotten from. And I had this song in "A Candle in the Wind," and it was beautiful lyrics. And I remember finding out about it. My aunt used to just adore Marilyn Monroe. I remember her house. She had big portraits around the house, and she, the VHS and stuff. And I remember hearing that song was about Marilyn Monroe, and the lyrics were beautiful, and I really loved the song. And it was just this song I had on a mixtape, mixed in with my other tapes. I didn't have the single or anything. I think that it was a few years after it was released that I came across it, and then the song got re-released, and for a beautiful reason. And I just didn't like the rewritten lyrics. I loved the original song so much. The new lyrics I didn't like, and then it was played to death, and then when I found out that he had released it as a double A side with another track, I just thought, oh man, that is so contrived. That is such a dick move. So yeah, that's and those are the reasons that's one song now. If it comes on, I'll change over the radio station in the car.
I don't know about you guys. I felt it was a little cheap, a little cheap for Diana to get a rewrite. I felt like she kind of deserved an original, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of rewrite. So
well, on behalf of the British and the King and country, I'll say all these opinions differ from the UK, but that's fine.
So yeah, Simon, I wanted to ask you: do you have any sort of connection to the 1997 version of that song because of its connection to Princess Diana?
No, but I will say, "Candle in the Wind" for me was always what Connor's saying. It was always that original one. It was about Norma Jean. It was about Marilyn Monroe, and it was about a failure of Hollywood for her. When they did change it for Princess Diana, I think it's because it was a massive hit, "Candle in the Wind," and it was even bigger when it was changed to Diana's lyrics. It was essentially very overplayed, like what we're saying. And I think for us, especially those in the UK, I think it just goes down to that era of time, that song. You think of Diana's funeral, you think of that song, you just do. It was so, enticing of the time, and how upset he was at Diana's funeral spoke volumes, really, So I think that one, it's not really for me added into a sort of Elton John catalogue. It's added into a time, an event that happened,
Okay.
As I'm saying, if I was playing a playlist tonight of Elton John hits, don't think that would be my playlist. You know what I mean? It's somber time.
Yeah, I think that's another good way of putting it, though. Yeah, I said, I picked it like that because it was overplayed, it was changed. But as you said, it's not an Elton John. That song doesn't belong to Elton John. That song belongs to the people because of what it's associated with, and it was.
Yeah,
I suppose that was, like all such good things in our life, we always associate a song with it or a moment in our life, and I think that that sadness needed to have a song associated with it, and from that perspective, yeah, maybe
Yeah, even if if it was in my
take away
playlist, it
from
would
Elton
be that
John.
original. It wouldn't be the Diana one I'd listen to. It would be that original one. I think that one was just specific for a specific time. Nowadays, for me, in my opinion, it's if I listen to that song, it would be the original one.
Yeah, well, the 1997 version is his biggest single. That as far as like sales are concerned.
And he spent all the money on cocaine and wild parties. Good on him. What a star, isn't he?
And don't forget, it was a double A side release.
Do you guys know what his biggest album to date is?
Oh, I'd say it's that one at the stadium, isn't it? What's it called? Can't remember. Is it a live album?
I can't think of any albums. I can't think.
Was it Madison Square Garden? Was it that one?
No, it wasn't a live.
Is it The Lion King?
It is not The Lion King, although that was massive.
Oh.
Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah,
Great cover, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
From 73. That's the biggest.
That's his biggest.
That's such a good song too. Oh my word.
I've got them shoes.
On that album was
I want to see you in those.
Daniel, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and Step into Christmas might not have been on that. That wasn't
Candle in the Wind was on there, right?
Well, I have the dates written down, but that might have overlapped into 1974. Benny and the Jets was somewhere around there too. So,
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is Beatles level. That's Beatles level of music. That's when you knew, when you get guys like that can just write and do music like that, then you just know it's Beatles level, that song.
Yeah, that's top tier for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
Benny and the Jets and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Yeah, that's I think those were the two singles, right? Released on that album. Those are two of his best, I think.
Yeah, definitely bangers. Would we call those bangers? Yeah.
Bangers, yeah.
We would.
Okay. Do you guys have any other attachments to any particular songs that you need to get off your chest? Or
yeah, I'm going to go again saying Cold Cold Heart with Dua Lipa. Again, it's a song that dominated this country in that summer. It was brilliant. It was on everything. And yeah, but it also said to me that just when you think Elton John's Give It a Day and everything's quiet and he just goes and does something like that. Do you know what I mean? Now, preferably, it was more of a produced dance record, Dua Lipa. But then Elton John on it, he just goes to show that every time you think this guy hasn't got it, he has.
Did it redeem? No, it was a mashup of Sacrifice and Rocket Man. So did it redeem Sacrifice a little bit for you, Sai? Having it?
Not really.
Dua Lipa?
But you find yourself singing it because would you go as far as to say that Sacrifice is one of them like guilty pleasures? Because it's like Grease for me, and it's like these other things. I know these things all the way through, yet I can't stand them. Do you know what I mean? But is it more of a guilty pleasure he can't stand? Because again, Sacrifice, I know every word, but you're like, ugh. It's weird.
That makes sense to me. I get it. Yeah.
So, have any of you guys seen Elton John perform?
No.
David Furnish has, but I haven't.
Yeah, Gary said that he saw him at Good Life Park, and it was awesome. So, I bet. Okay, if you had the opportunity to go back and go to either an AC/DC concert or an Elton John concert, who would you go see, Connor?
AC/DC played here a couple of months ago, and I missed it. And I'm still kicking myself over it. I slept on getting tickets, and they sold out. Now, I know Malcolm Young wasn't going to be there, but Brian Johnson was back singing, and it would have had somewhat of the energy of the old days. So never got to see Akadaka live. I would pick them over Elton John.
Si?
Elton John. Definitely. I know more songs. I like more songs. You know, I don't think the crowd would be so long-haired and smelly. So I'd prefer an Elton John concert.
I gotta pick Elton John too. Going back to memories for just a second, the early 80s, my parents always had MTV on. This was like the early MTV. And I remember, I guess that's why they call it The Blues, was probably the first Elton John song that I remember from, I don't know, I think it was 83. So yeah, every decade, Elton John's, he's just killing it. I'd love to see him in concert.
You know, he had a stint in he filled in for Celine Dion in Las Vegas for a while. And I don't think it'd be crazy to hear him come back and do another residency there. I hope he does, because then I'd go see him if he did.
I think he played his last concert. I'm pretty sure he
done.
He was done. I'm pretty sure it's been in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's finished.
It was on the news last week, and to me, he doesn't look like he's got a concert in him. Do you know what I mean? He just doesn't, you know.
Well, that's too bad then. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Run through a few comments here. Every Christmas morning.
Blue eyes, baby's got blue eyes. Great. I like Jack Jones singing that. That's how old school I am.
Yeah. G-Force says he's seen AC/DC before.
Nice. What? 250. Wow.
Wow, that's mad money.
Yeah. Oh, hey there, G. Yeah. All right. Sweet. Okay.
No, I did see the Scissor Sisters in 2005, and they did bring Elton John out for a song, but I wouldn't really say that's Elton John in concert. Do you know what I mean? It was only one song. There he is, Elton John, and off he went.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really say it was like.
You know, in the music video where he's playing "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and then he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, George Michael," and then he comes on. Like maybe that's what we'll get. Maybe that's what we'll get from him now.
If there was a third on the irritant list, I think that song might be it. Because of that bit, everybody always remembers that. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Elton John, I don't mind. Everyone remembers that bit, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have MTV growing up, but I remember that video. You know, that's funny. Okay, last question here, guys. As far as like, is Elton John the best piano pop singer of all time? Here are your choices. Elton John.
Jerry Lee Lewis was the fourth, so he was like the piano was never cool.
Okay, so
Yeah, let's see.
So Elton John, Jerry Lee Lewis, Billy Joel, or Chris Martin?
Definitely not Chris Martin.
You're not going to put Nina Simone in that one?
Connor.
One of the greatest pianists of all time.
We could go like I know I'm probably missing a couple of them. Oh, Stevie Wonder. I mean,
Jerry
Ray Charles.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Jerry Lee Lewis. He brought the piano to rock and roll. And as for Chris Martin, I'd rather get a root canal.
Yeah, there's too many for that. Like I said, my mind went straight to Nina Simone.
I don't know though. I think the staying power of Elton John he has got decades of hits. I think he has to be He has to be considered.
Yeah, I mean,
Be
Oh
the
yeah,
best.
G-Paul said then.
That
Billy
reason.
Joel. Oh. Billy Joel's another, isn't he?
oh, yeah. I mean, I think at least during the '80s, especially, I think Elton John and Billy Joel kind of had a little rivalry, because they were.
But
Oh,
over
right.
here, we call Billy Joel the American Elton John. That's what we say in the UK. When we think of Billy Joel, we think of him as the American Elton John.
Yeah, well, we call Elton John the British Billy Joel. So I mean, Elton's been around longer, but yeah, I was just curious. It's different strokes for different folks. But I really appreciate you guys coming on here and doing this. I don't know
No,
if
it's
we'll
fun.
do it again. I'd love to do it again, with you guys or maybe some other people and talk about very opposite. I was trying to think of like who else would be like opposites stylistically, but have a big catalog.
I've got two here, which I absolutely love. I'd love to come on and talk about Wu-Tang Clan and Burt Bacharach. They're the two I'd love to talk about.
Okay.
Expert in both.
I'd have
and then we'll do Andy Williams and U2.
Okay. No cranberries? No cranberries? Okay.
No, probably not a big enough back catalogue.
Okay. Em, is there a couple of artists that you'd like to see done?
I would love to do U2. That'd be a great one. I'm seeing a lot of Coldplay hate.
Ooh.
But I would love to do a Coldplay.
Maybe that's more for an American audience. I don't know.
It seems
Yellow
sweet.
by Coldplay though is beautiful, isn't it? Yellow, what a great record that was.
Yellow,
Okay, right.
that was the breakout song. That was cool. But as for the rest of it, it's not to upset anybody. Emily, I'll say it in Irish. It's full Coldplay. You can look up the translation, but
Not a fan then, Connor. No.
It's full U2. It's full Coldplay. I hate Coldplay.
Yellow was a great record.
I could think of some fun. I like the dissonance between AC/DC and Elton John. This was fun.
Yeah.
So.
Good pick.
Thanks for having me.
Andy. Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good way to dip our toe in here. Maybe we'll get a little hip hop in here next time for you, Sai. So anyway,
speaking of, Tupac is on Apple Music, and I would be happy to appear on a Tupac episode as well.
Nice.
With you, Sai.
Tupac and
Doris Day.
We're going to do a Phil Collins one here pretty soon. All right, and I'm getting a lot in the chats here too. Put in the chat, those that are still here, what your expert level band knowledge is. Who is it? Who's the one? And then I'll write these down. So if we ever do one, I'll know who to get a hold of. You got to put down, I know about this band, so I want to talk about them. So it can be your favorite. Maybe they're just the ones that you have the most experience with. Maybe you've been to a few concerts. Who knows? Whatever. Maybe all of those are true. But put them down, and I'll take note on them for future episodes coming up. Thank you, guys in the chat that have stuck with us. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. And Sai, Emily, Connor, thanks for hanging out with me on a Sunday evening.
Cheers for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Very much appreciate it. And not sure when the next Holochronicles jam's going to be, but we'll keep you posted. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe, and we will see you soon.